Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Put.
Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. Today is Friday. It's the end of the week. It's the 22nd of July, right here. 22nd of July, 2016. That's according to the Gregorian calendar. All right, so let's take a look at what we have right here. We see that there is a changing of the guard that occurred in two different areas, the sun and the moon. 3:35 a.m. the moon went out of the void of course phase that it was in into the next moon sign, which is Pisces. Pisces is a water sign. Here's Pisces, water sign. What we have here is a sign that what we have is that with Pisces is a water sign represented in the tarot by the card with the process of how things evolve from one form, okay, how life evolves from one form to the next. Out of the water of life, the fluid of life, the shell around us to protect us from the emotions that are bouncing all around us. As we come out and become evolved, first we are in this animalistic state like the wolf, but then as we go through life, we become a bit more domesticated like the dog. And then we walk the path of life until we come to the pillars of the unknown. We come to the point of what we know and then the pillars of what we don't know. And usually we stay within that realms. But quite often enough, sometimes expectedly, sometimes unexpectedly, we have to go past the pillars. We have to go into the unknown. And when we go into the unknown, this is where the challenge lies, because we need to maintain our sense of faith. Our sense of faith that walking in the unknown is going to still be safe for us, as safe as it was walking in the realm of the known. The idea of faith is very important. What is faith? Is faith believing in God? Is faith believing that God exists? Perhaps to some degree or another. But I like to think of faith as something a little bit more than that. You see, I don't believe and feel that God needs me to do anything that God needs to do, that God could do everything without me. Therefore, if I'm here, I have a purpose. And if I have a purpose, because I'm here, then I need to find a way to express that purpose. And as I understand how energy flows through the universe and how it flows through us, then I understand that the better I can bring that energy through me, which already exists, the more effective I can be. To me, that is faith. Faith is our ability to bring the God force through us, because the force exists. God exists. So to have faith that God is going to be able to do what God does, well, that's a no-brainer. God can do what God does. It's our ability. Can we bring God into our lives? Can we remove the distractions? Do we have faith in our ability to remove all the distractions that allow us to bring that energy through in the best way possible? Therein lies the challenge, in my humble opinion. Now, our sun sign has also made a transition. We have been in Cancer for the last month, and now we could see here as of 4:30 a.m. we made a switch to Leo. Leo is a fire sign. Here's the tarot card that represents Leo. We have the lion. Okay, the lion's an animal. The color of this animal right here is red. Red is the color of action. So we have this animalistic nature inside of us which wants to charge out, which wants to take action in the world. Now, what we know about the color red, it's associated with Mars. It's associated with the ideas of this excessive energy that comes our way. We can either do one or two things with the energy. We can either be overwhelmed by it and therefore take that energy and not know how to handle it properly, or we can be responsible for it and handle it properly, and that's what this is about. Are we going to let the energies affect us and rub us the wrong way so we become aggressive, violent, angry, egotistical? Or are we going to allow that energy to flow through? Are we going to allow our imagination and our love to tame that energy that's flowing through us? Because if we do, then we have a great resource available. Fire, ideas. This is what Leo is. So for this next month, our conscious mind, the mind we are thinking of, is in the realm of the lion. It's in the realm of us understanding the responsibility of handling the energies available to us. And as we get better and better at that, our lives will reflect that exact process of achievement. Now, we have one aspect we're going to look at, a couple actually, to look at later this evening, 9:17 p.m. Saturn wants to teach us some lessons about discipline, focusing our energy. This is in the realm here of Pisces, our emotions. So we need to have faith. We need to be willing to walk into the unknown. And we need to take a new perspective on things as we walk into the unknown. Okay? So those are some of the aspects right there. Now let me explain what is important about this. Certainly for a good portion of society, walking into the unknown in this election is part of the process that's happening here in America. For the Republican side of things, the conservative side, they're walking forward with a candidate unlike they've had before, excuse me, into the unknown. So what's it going to be like with him? That's going to be the challenge. That will be the challenge. Okay, let's move on from here. So we got what's going on there. Over the weekend, we've got Pisces on Saturday. It's going to be the moon. Sunday, the transition is going to be made where we're going to move into Aries, first sign of the zodiac, where we'll be next week. The moon phase currently is 91.6% of the way full. It's a waning moon, which means it's going from the full moon back down to the new moon, where we'll be in August. Seems strange to be saying August already. It's just right around the corner. Right around the corner. On the Jewish calendar, today is 16 Tammuz. The daily thought for today is rehearsing confidence. Yes, we believe. We believe that everything is in the hands of heaven, and so there is nothing to fret over, whether we fail or succeed. But when we walk out the door into the cold, harsh world, why does that confidence lack the guts to come out with us? It is because it hasn't first walked from our soul into our minds. If we would take the time to ponder, to mentally rehearse our parts, to let that deep faith of our soul sink into our minds and our hearts, then it would be more than faith. It would be a vision, an attitude. So don't just believe it is so, come to know that it is so. And finally, solar wind, 392.0 kilometers per second. Planetary K-index in the quiet range at a 2. We got one coronal hole here, little ones over here, over the 22nd, 23rd, today, tomorrow, this weekend. We're going to feel some sort of wind from that coming off of that. M-class flare possibility at 35 right now, dropping down slightly, so things are subsiding there. X-class is at 5. Geomagnetic storm activity is subsiding slightly from 20 to 15 in the mid-latitudes. In the upper latitudes, it seems to be stable. A slight decrease in the severity from 25 down to 20%, but otherwise, that's about it. So, universe breathing in and out. We're part of the process of life that's breathing in and out. As we get in synchronicity with this process, things continue to move. Okay, so there you go. That's it. UFO News is up next. Here we go.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Today I have 4 stories for you. The first story brings us to the Gulf of California under the water. Here we have what appears to be some sort of runway, pyramid shape, straight lines. This is an amazing large underwater base in the Gulf of California. It measures over 125 kilometers long, which is 76 miles. The long tubular structure measures 2.4 miles wide. This base is huge, and it is no wonder why we hear about so many UFO sightings over Mexico. This base is just 45 miles away from the Mexican coast. The chances of this being an intelligently made structure, I put that at 100%. This needs exploring with some RC sub-drones. I'm sure anyone could make one and buy one, but making one would be cheaper. This has to be explored, guys. It has to be. It's so close, so accessible that it must be investigated closer. Maybe the Discovery Channel, History Channel, or National Geographic would fund a mission to make a show. Yes, maybe we could get some of these other channels. It might work, you know. I think if we get some of these other controlled networks that are out there, keeping this information hidden from people, I think if we get a couple of them together, they might come out with the truth. Because that's usually what happens when you get groups together that are trying to hide information. Usually their collective nature of hiding it, well, ultimately results in them hiding it even more. So I don't know if they're necessarily the right groups, but nonetheless, we're told that they are. You know, one thing just to kind of throw out there, here we're getting these images told this is Google Earth, right? Comes to us from Google Earth. Well, remember a couple days ago I read the information about the Pokemon Go game and the connections it has to the CIA funding arm In-Q-Tel. And then you can look at In-Q-Tel and see what other things they're involved with. They were involved with Keyhole. Keyhole is connected to Google Earth. So along that lines, I've always, and you've heard me talk about it, that if Google Earth is maintained by an organization, an alphabet agency, is influencing what's going on there, what's to say that somebody couldn't just create some graphic designs, throw them in there, and let people find them and claim that these are findings in obscure parts of the world? Very easy to do, because all they're doing is creating graphics on a screen. And then we're going to look at these graphics and say, oh, look what's there. I mean, it'd be real easy to fool people that way. So I think we need to take this into consideration. We need to take in consideration what are all these images, because just as much as things are faked when we look at some of the UFO videos that are out there, things could be faked at the things that we are discovering through Google Earth. Okay, are we seeing things coming to us from a satellite? Or are we seeing things that are beamed to us from other technologies that could do the same things that we're told the satellite would do? Planes flying overhead, are they capturing these images? Or, as I say, is it just somebody in a room adding these into a server and we're finding them and thinking that these are actually real? Just keep that in mind, okay? Let's not buy into everything hook, line, and sinker here, because these are realities. It's the world we're living in, okay? If we weren't living in a world where we had the CIA involved with the social networks, then I might, not feel as if there is something going on here. But because we live in a world where the social networks are controlled and influenced by the various intelligence agencies, you understand the concern. All right, here we have another crop circle. This was from the 19th of July, just a couple days ago. This one is quite fascinating. I'm not sure if this one is real, if this one is not. Certainly different than ones that I have seen before. It looks pretty interesting. Another crop formation was seen in Wiltshire this week. It seems more man-made and less mysterious than most. It also looks like it has some letters from the alphabet on it. This probably isn't alien-made, and add to the fact that more crop circles come out of Wiltshire in 1 year than from any 4 countries in the world added up. It seems someone with too much time in their hands are making the Wiltshire crop formations. Well, maybe. It does look like letters. It looks like a D and an H. Let's see a little better right here. We got I-A-E. So definitely looks like letters. Is it man-made? Is it? I don't know. Something for us to consider, though. Okay. Alien hunters link giant pyramid structure discovery deep under the Pacific Ocean with UFO. Stories on secrets hidden at the bottom of the sea are not something new, but this one is a little bit different and maybe bigger than the most. Alien hunters say they've discovered a perfect pyramid deep down in the Pacific Ocean. Based on the image of Google Earth, experts estimate the structure to be 8.5 miles across, and some UFO enthusiasts suggest it could be an alien spacecraft parked underwater. Marcelo Guasta, an Argentinian researcher, was the one who first discovered the mysterious underwater structure in June. He claims that he spotted the beam of light shining in the dark deep below the ocean off the west coast of Mexico using these particular coordinates right here. Alien enthusiasts picked up on the news and later shared it with followers. They say it is a perfect pyramid measuring 8.5 miles on one side of its base. They explain that it's just a conservative estimate and the discovery could be up to 11 miles across. They further state that only space aliens could make such a huge structure. It may not be a UFO that landed in the ocean, but some alien followers believe it is still a monumental discovery that has a connection with extraterrestrials. Again, there is the Google right there, right? So again, we have the Google Earth. So we have this pyramid, discovered using Google Earth. Will we ever be able to get to a point to check it out? Or was this just an image that was created in the back room by some graphic artist and then slipped onto the server so that people could find it and say, look what's out there in an area of the ocean where we'll never be able to get to and explore, but we'll take the word from Google Earth that it's out there. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Come on now. We don't want to buy and be gullible about everything. They try to fool us enough times. You know, one thing that is baffling to me is over the years we've been fooled over and over and over and over and over again by our governments, by leaders, by religions, by ufologists trying to fake stuff. On and on, we're fooled, and usually we're faked out by the very same ways, very same methods, because those who are doing the faking realize that they don't have to stretch to really fake people out. People are pretty easily duped, and so when we stop being duped, when we stop being so gullible, we'll do a little bit better. But again, we have to use critical thinking. We have to realize in this day and age, when a person logs onto a computer, you are putting a web address in that's going to take you to a location of information on another computer server. That computer server houses that information you are looking at. Somebody who has access to that server, anyone who's a webmaster, has the ability to go into that server and to manipulate whatever information is there on the website, whether it be putting new images in there, taking images out, airbrushing images that are in there already, whatever the case may be. We need to understand that, and let's not be fooled that these things do occur, because they do. And finally, one last UFO-related story here. This is called The Hoax Alien Invasion, how Wernher von Braun revealed NASA's plan to weaponize space, by Dr. Carol Rosen. Dr. Carol Rosen was the first woman corporate manager of Fairfield Industries and was the spokesperson for Wernher von Braun in the last years of his life. She founded the Institute for Security and Cooperation in Outer Space in Washington, D.C., and testified before Congress on many occasions about space-based weapons. Von Braun revealed to Dr. Rosen a plan to justify weapons in space based on hoaxing an extraterrestrial threat. She was also presented at meetings in the 70s with the scenario of the Gulf War in the 90s was planned. In the transcript of this interview cited below, Carol Rosen represents a commentary by Dr. Carol Rosen, and SG designates questions with Dr. Stephen Greer. Okay, goes on to say, CR. My name is Carol Rosen. I'm an educator who became the first woman corporate manager of an aerospace company, Fairchild Industries. I'm a space and missile defense consultant and have consulted to a number of companies, organizations, and government departments, even the intelligence community. I was a consultant at TRW working on the MX missile, so I was part of that strategy, which turned out to be the role model for how to sell space-based weapons to the public. The MX missile is yet another weapon system that we didn't need. I founded the Institute for the Security and the Cooperation in Outer Space, a Washington, D.C. based think tank. I am the author and have testified before Congress and the President's Commission on Space. When I was a corporate manager at Fairchild Industries from 1974 through 77, I met the late Dr. Werner von Braun. We first met in 1974. At that time, von Braun was dying of cancer, but he assured me that he would live a few more years to tell me about the game that was being played. That game was being an effort to weaponize space, to control the Earth from space and itself. And space itself. Werner von Braun had a history of working with weapon systems. He had escaped from Germany to come to this country and become a vice president of Fairchild Industries when I met him. Von Braun's purpose during the last years of his life, his dying years, was to educate the public and decision makers on why space-based weapons are dumb, dangerous, destabilizing, too costly, unnecessary, unworkable. As practically a deathbed speech, he educated me about the concepts and who the players were in this game. He gave me the responsibility, since he was dying, of confirming this effort to prevent the weaponization of outer space. When Werner von Braun was dying of cancer, he asked me to be a spokesperson, to appear on occasions when he was too ill to speak, and so I did this. What was most interesting to me was that a repetitive sentence that he said over and over during the approximate 4 years, he said that the strategy was being used to educate the public and decision makers was to use scare tactics, and this was how we identified the enemy. The strategy that Werner von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, in 1974, they were the enemy, the identified enemy. We were told that the Russians had killer satellites, that they were told they were coming to get us and control us, that they were commies. Then after the Russian threat passed, with the fall of communism, terrorists would be identified as the next threat, and that was soon to follow. Throughout the media for the next decade, we heard about terrorism, and then we are going to identify third world crazies. We now call them nations of concern. But he said that it would be a third enemy against whom we would build space-based weapons. The next enemy was asteroids. At this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said asteroids against asteroids. We're going to build space-based weapons, and the funniest one of all was what he called aliens, extraterrestrials, and that would be the final case. And over during the 4 years that I knew him, he was giving speeches, he would bring up the last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens, and all of it is a lie. I think it is too naive at this time to know the seriousness of the nature of the spin that was being put on the system, and now the pieces are starting to fall into place. We're building space-based weapon system on the premise that is a lie, a spin, whether von Braun is trying to hint me back to the early 70s and right up till the moment when he died in 77. What he did tell me was that there is an accelerated effort in place. He didn't mention a time, but he said that it was going to be speeding up faster than anybody could possibly imagine, that the effort to put weapons into space was not only based on a lie, but would accelerate past the point of people even understanding it until it was already there and too late. When Werner von Braun was dying in front of me the very first day that I met him, he had tubes draining out of his side. He was tapping on the desk telling me, "You will come to Fairchild." I was a school teacher. He said, "You will come to Fairchild and you will be responsible for keeping weapons out of space." The way he said it, with this intensiveness in his eyes, and added the very first day, the first time I met him, that space-based weapons were a dangerous, destabilizing, too costly, unnecessary, untestable, unworkable idea. The last card that was being held was the extraterrestrial enemy card. The intensity with which he said that he made me realize that he knew something he was too afraid to mention. He was too afraid to talk about it. He would not tell me the detail. I'm not sure that I would have absorbed if he had told me the details or even believed him in 74. But there's no question that this man knew and had a need to know. I found out later. Okay, so there's a little bit more to this article here, so you can go check that out. Actually, there's a lot more to this article. Check it out. So, look, very important information there. Again, it's all about deception versus truth. Deception versus truth. There are those who are trying to deceive us by hiding the truth, and then there are those who are trying to maintain the truth. What is the truth? The truth is that unending, ever-flowing, emanating of the life force that pours continuously through all things. That is the undeniable truth of all things. The deception is no, that this doesn't really flow through all of us, and we are not worthy of this energy flowing through us, and therefore we're not going to really be able to express ourselves because, who do we think we are that we could use this energy? That's the deception. We need to get past that and understand that we have flowing through us the power of God. God flows and emanates his power through us for a purpose. We are part of that purpose, otherwise we wouldn't be here. Therefore, we need to step up and do our part by just getting rid of the distractions that keep us from expressing more and more of the divinity that we have available to us. It's that simple. Once we do, we stop getting fooled. And remember, the trickery that they do is always they're like false flags. A false flag is something occurs and then somebody else gets the blame for it. Okay, we've had false flags happen one over the other here on Earth for many, many years that have dragged us into war. Sometimes the threat is very real, sometimes not so much. But certainly the event that moves us forward is something that is highly publicized each and every time, and we're told that is the reason for why we need to go into this warlike situation. So we just need to not get caught up into that, not get caught up into lies, but therein lies the trick. The trick indeed, my friends. All right, there you go. I'm going to jump away. I'll be back in a few moments. Stay tuned.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace.
Continuing on. So, where are we? We're in a place in the world where we have one group of people telling us what's going on, and another group of people telling us what's going on, and often other groups of people trying to tell us going on, and we're stuck in the position of having to decide which of the things that we're being told is the right way to go. When we watch, for example, these political elections that are taking place, this political process, what we see are various candidates. candidates are out speaking to the public, and in some cases, these candidates are receiving support from behind the scenes, places unseen. Okay, in the same way that we go through life and we receive guidance or something from unseen entities. These beings that they're receiving money from are often unseen, but major influences in what is taking place with the different parties and the different individuals. And so it goes, this influence that occurs. Sometimes it's from those in life, sometimes it's from things unseen. The problem that we've been having for a long time on this earth has been one of battle between goodness and darkness, goodness and evil. This has been the battle for such a long period of time. All of our spiritual books, whether it doesn't matter what religion they are, they all talk about this battle between light and dark, between good and evil. So here we are in this time, and we see events unfolding before our eyes, and we're able to discern that there is some sort of a script that is unfolding. And as we understand the scripts, the books that make up the story of what's unfolding, we're able to understand a little bit better what's taking place. Now, I think if we look at some of the clues around us, we can start to determine where we are in the timeline of things. And I think this is very significant here not to overlook. You know how we look at Book of Revelation, we look at the other books, trying to decipher their meanings, trying to look behind the scenes for something a little deeper? Well, let's take the Bible. Let's look at it from a different perspective. I talked about this yesterday. Let's look at this from a different perspective. Let's think in this way of looking at things simply from a sound perspective. Okay? From a sound perspective, to see if there are any words that are in the Bible that sound like any words that we have in this day and age. And maybe they might not be spelled the same, but they sound the same, to let us know that there's some similarity. And the book of Revelation definitely speaks about, and it uses the phrase, an abomination. An abomination. Okay? An abomination. Well, we have a president named Obama. And this nation that he is the president over would make this an Obama nation. So an abomination. Very similar to what the book of Revelation says. So you think, okay, that's interesting. There's one place where there's some sort of a clue. Is there anything else? Well, we have two candidates now who are working together on a ticket, Trump, Pence. If you say their name together, Trump-Pence, sounds very close to the word trumpets. And in the book of Revelation, there is talk about the 7 trumpets of God. So we have 2 words, 2 phrases that we can look at that are in the book of Revelation, that we can see in life, that are also in this reality. Trumpets and abomination, because we're living in one and these are our candidates. So then I wonder, are there any other characters that are being outlined during this time to point us to this time? The other day, Ben Carson talked about Hillary Clinton, and he mentioned another character that is part of this whole storyline, and that character is Lucifer. And Lucifer came into the mix because of Saul Alinsky as an influence, someone that Hillary Clinton did a great deal of study on. He was influenced by and actually did an acknowledgement in his book to Lucifer. You can go read it yourself. Go online, type in Rules for Radicals, PDF. You'll find the book. You can go to the acknowledgement section. It's the last section. I think it's the largest of the acknowledgements, where it's a whole paragraph where he starts off that he's giving acknowledgement to, last but not least, got to acknowledge the original radical who got his own kingdom. Okay? So we got Lucifer, we got trumpets, we have an abomination. These are 3 different phrases or words or ideas that come out of the book of Revelation, one of the books of prophecy that show us something unfolding that we relate to these end times. Okay, so those are 3 clues that are enough for me to say I want to look deeper because there's something else going on here. I don't want to dismiss this because I ask myself, if Jesus was here on earth right now and Jesus heard what Ben Carson said, do you think Jesus would turn to all of the Christians and say, disregard what that man said, that's not important? Or do you think Jesus might say, listen to what that man says, it's very important? Have we fallen so far in our morality as a society that it no longer matters to us if our leaders are influenced by beings like Lucifer or other demonic entities? Have we fallen that far? Because now that this information is out there, people are going to have to make a choice. Are you going to want to side with the woman who cites this man as an influence, who cites as his influence being Lucifer? People who are siding with her now need to decide if that is what they want to do with, and are they siding there? It's a separating the wheat from the chaff. Okay, separating who's going to go over here against God, who's going to go over here for God. That's what's going on. There's a book I want to bring up here. I've read this before. I'm going to make sure you see this so you can read through it. It's called The Reality of the Rulers, or the Hypostasis of the Archons. It's one of the books in the Nag Hammadi library. It has some very important information. Samiel is one of the names of Yaldabaoth, the being that fell from the immortal realms. Because of the reality of the authorities is the name of those beings behind the scenes. Because of the reality of the authorities, those behind the scenes, inspired by the Spirit of Truth, the great messenger, referring to the authorities of darkness, told us that our contest is not against flesh and blood, but rather against the authorities of the universe and the spirits of wickedness. I've sent you this because you inquire about the reality of the authorities. So here we have to ask ourselves a couple of questions. Who is this messenger that they were referring to in this passage? Paul. This is reference to Paul, what he had written, that our battle is not a physical battle. Remember, we talk all the time about there's the realms, the fire, the water, the air, and then the earth, the physical realm. But prior to that realm are other realms. It's in these other realms where our battle exists. By the time the battle gets to the physical realm, it's already in the physical state of fighting. It's in a solidified form. Prior to that, it's in a form that is more malleable, so that can be adjusted and fixed. That is where we have to go to fix the problems. But oftentimes, most don't understand that that is the area where they're being affected the most by these various authorities and entities, and therefore move through life blind or ignorant to the influence that they are under. Okay, so we need to pay attention. The chief is blind because his power and of his arrogance, and he said in his power that he was God and there was no other. And when he said this, he sinned against all. His speech rose up to incorruptibility. So incorruptibility being the incorruptible spirit. So his speech raised up to the incorruptible spirit. And then there was a voice saying, that came forth from the incorruptibility, saying, "You are wrong, Samuel," meaning God of the blind. "You are wrong. You are not God, in other words. There is others beside you." His thoughts became blind, and having expelled his power, that is the blasphemy that he had spoken, he pursued it down to chaos and the abyss. His mother, at the instigation of Pistia Sophia, she established each of his offspring in conformity with its power, after the pattern of the realms that are above, for by starting from the invisible world, the visible world was invented. As incorruptibility looked down into the region of the waters, her image appeared in the waters, and the authorities of darkness became enamored of her. But they could not lay hold of that image which had appeared to them in the waters because of their weakness, since beings that merely have a soul cannot lay hold of those that have a spirit. For they were from below, while it was from above. Now, I want you to remember these phrases. They were from below and it was from above. And over here, it talked about how the speech rose up to incorruptibility. So phrases that are being used here as above and below, up and down. Just throwing out here again the idea that if this was a ball, you can't have an up and down. You have an outward and then an inward. You don't have the up and the down. So just another confirmation that there is a flat plane that is involved here. A flat plane so that one being can say, I am here, and that is up. No matter where you are in this flat plane, the being is up, and this is the down. Okay? So just wanted to point that out. So we have incorruptibility looking down from above. Your image appears in the water. And Yaldabaoth and the authorities are seeing this image. So this is the reason why incorruptibility looked down into that region, so that by the Father's will she might bring all into union with the light. The rulers had laid plans and said, come, let us create a human that will be soil from the earth. So they modeled their creature as one wholly of the earth. The rulers have bodies that are both female and male, and faces that are faces of beasts. They took some of the soil from the earth and modeled their man after the body and after the image of God that appeared to them in the water. They said, come, let us lay hold of it by means in the forms that we have modeled, so that it may see its male partner, and we may seize it with the form that we have modeled, not understanding the partner of God because of their powerlessness. And he breathed into his face, and the man came to have a soul, but remained on the ground for many days. They could not make it rise because of their powerlessness. Like storm winds, they persisted in blowing, and they might try to capture the image which had appeared to them in the waters, and they did not know the identity of its power. All of these events came to pass by the will of the Father of all. Afterward, the Spirit saw the man of soil on the ground. The Spirit came forth from the adamantine land. It descended and came to dwell in him, and that man became a living soul, and the Spirit called his name Adam, since he was formed moving upon the ground. A voice came forth from incorruptibility for the assistance of Adam. The rulers gathered together all the animals of the earth and the birds of the heaven, and brought them into Adam to see what Adam would call them, and he might give each a name, and the birds of the beasts. The rulers took Adam and put him in the garden, that he might cultivate it and keep watch over it. They issued a command from him, saying, from every tree in the garden you shall eat, and from the tree of knowledge of good and evil don't eat, nor touch it. For the day you eat it, you will surely die. They said this to him, but they did not understand what they had said. Rather, by the Father's will, they said this in such a way that he might in fact eat, and that Adam might not regard them as would a man of exclusively material nature. The rulers took counsel with one another, said, come, let us cause a deep sleep to fall on man Adam. And he slept. Now the deep sleep that they caused him to fall was ignorance. They opened his side, which was like a living woman, and they built up his side with some flesh in place of her, and Adam came to be, only with soul. The woman of spirit came to him and spoke, saying, arise, Adam. And when he saw her, he said, it is you who have given me life. You will be called the mother of the living, for she is my mother, she is the physician, and the woman, and she has given birth. Okay, so there's more to this story. I'm going to leave this to you to finish up. But this is a very significant story. Okay? A very significant story. What this tells us is that the beings that brought humanity into life were deceiving humanity because they were doing so simply to trap God. However, God knew this. The incorruptible spirit understood this, and therefore flipped the tables so that Yaldabaoth wasn't able to trap God. God was able to get into the body that Yaldabaoth had created, and through the process of the years, eventually a being, Jesus Christ, showed up in that body to show what can be done. That the body is not a forever chamber or prison for spirit, but simply a temporary housing. And when we understand what the body can be and how it is a temple for the living spirit, and that living spirit comes and goes and is not trapped. It's a game changer. But we are not taught that here on earth. We are taught the opposite. We are not taught on a regular basis about the spirit that flows through us, that inconquerable spirit, that undeniable spirit, that never-ending essence of spirit that flows through us, of positivity, of love, of success, of abundance, of prosperity. Okay? The nature of God is all of these things. So if the nature of God is all of that, and we are drops of God, and all the drops of God contain all of the essence of this abundance, prosperity, success, love. If every drop contains that, and we are one of those drops, guess what? That's already inside of us. All we need to do is be able to know how to call it forth. That is faith. And faith to call forth that which is already inside of us. The faith to call forth that which is already inside of us. That spirit of the living God that breathes and flows through our being. So it's very important, very, very important during the time that we're in, that we pay attention. Something is happening. I've already explained the abomination, the trumpets, the Lucifer. Characters are in place. Storylines seem to be unfolding. Locations that are discussed in Revelation, in the book of Enoch, seem to be shown. We can no longer afford to turn a blind eye to what is happening. Last night, at the Republican convention, Donald Trump finally accepted the nomination. A year ago, when he began this journey, nobody gave him any chance to do this. He was the outsider. But through all of this process, he did what nobody thought he would do, or certainly a lot of people. So now here he is, and this is unexpected. This is something unknown. He's an unknown entity in many ways. Do we really, having seen what he can do, knowing what he can build, knowing the amount of money that he can generate, do we really want to look at all of the benefits he could bring to us and then vote in somebody who has never done that, and then be in the position where we're saying, you know, it's too bad we didn't give him a shot. Wonder what he really could have done. We don't want to be in that position because we know what he can do. We know. All we have to do is put side by side what this man has built versus what Hillary has built. We don't have to knock her down. We don't have to criticize. We just show this is what he's built. This is what she's built. These are the amount of people he's employed. These are the amount of people she's employed. This is the amount of safety he has brought to the country and to the people around him. This is the amount of safety she has brought to the people around her. If we just do side-by-side comparisons of each one of these things, it's a no-brainer, because he has kept us safe in ways that she has not. He has done and brought forward ideas and principles that she has not. And he's standing for the people in the way that she is not. So I endorse Donald Trump. I support what he's about. Is he the be-all, end-all of everything? Probably not. I don't know if anybody is. But in terms of the problems we are having, he's the man for the job. Because in order for me to look and say he's not the man for the job, I have to look and I have to say, okay, am I looking at these problems accurately? What are the problems? Is there a problem with the economy? Well, yeah, you could see there's a problem. Despite the media's attempt to mislead people on the numbers, there is a huge amount of people that are out of work. Not just government-related people, but the average Joe. Many people aren't working. The economy is different. There's more regulation on people than there has been. There's a political correctness that is occurring in the world that is stomping out our free speech. There's a violence and an anger that is occurring in this world. So I have to look at these and say, are those really happening, or is it my imagination? Is it my imagination that there are those who are extremists from the Islamic religion that are actually creating violence in the world. Is that real, or am I imagining that? Well, it seems to be real. People are getting killed. So when I look at all these events, I realize that they are part of reality. They are occurring. So I can't turn a blind eye to that. I could, but then that would be stupid. So I can't turn a blind eye to that. So I need to be able to say, okay, if these are really happening, then I need to deal with these properly. Quite frankly, listen, Hillary wants to invite 550% more people into our country from parts of the world where there are terrorists that want to hurt Americans. Not all of the people are terrorists, but there's a small percentage. And that small percentage, we're going to say 10%, wants to sneak into America with the refugees that are coming here for help, with the legitimate ones who want help. We'll say they're in the 90% group. This 10% group of extremists want to sneak in with the good people and then come here and cause problems. They want to sneak in with the good people and come here and cause problems. And as long as we turn a blind eye and thinking that's not going to happen, well, then we're missing out, because it is happening. It's happening before our eyes, and it's happening because we're pretending that we really don't see this going on. Some of these people that come over here are coming over here from countries where they have extreme rules in the way they treat women, very abusively, very much as second-class citizens. They have extreme ways in which they treat members of the homosexual community, like throwing them off roofs or throwing them in jail. And yet Hillary wants to invite these people into the country. So I'm sorry, but for anybody out there that is a Democrat, that's going to vote for Hillary, if you happen to be part of that community, that's the gay community, and you're going to vote for the woman that wants to bring people in that want to kill you, then all I could say is I and others like myself are going to have to step up to help save you from yourself. Because if you're going to vote for the person who's going to bring people in to kill you, then I'm going to suggest that you are not clearly thinking. Because why would anybody in their right mind invite somebody in that wants to ultimately kill them? That would be stupid. And yet that's what we're led to believe is going on. And that's what we see is going on. So there's a battle. These Archons, behind the scenes, the authorities, they're pushing the buttons, and many people are being fooled. We cannot be fooled. We have to remember, when Jesus spoke to people, he didn't say, walk over to that table and everything you need is on that table. He didn't say, walk into the room and everything that you need is right in front of your very eyes. He said, the things you're looking for, you have to seek for, to seek and find. To knock and it shall be received. Because Jesus knew that the things we needed weren't going to be shown us directly. Because those things could then be the illusion, the deception. The things we needed to see and find were hidden, were behind the scenes. We had to uncover those things. So if anybody is out there that says, oh, it's wrong to explore these things, I don't agree with you. Because Jesus said, seek and ye shall find. Seek and ye shall find. Jesus also said, when we see him, we see the Father. And we know that the Father said, in Jesus he is well pleased. This is his Son, and he is well pleased. So if God is well pleased with his Son, and his Son is telling us to seek the things that are hidden so we can find them, then just by simply and following that train of thought, I'm going to say then God is pleased with those who are following his Son's words and seeking for the things which are hidden. And sometimes the things that are hidden might not coincide with the things that the public is definitely telling people. Sometimes they may be a bit more obscure ideas, but nonetheless, if they are the hidden things that contain the real seeds of truth, then we should be seeking those out. We shouldn't be turning a blind eye to those. And that's what we're being asked to do in this society. We need to fix this. And again, it all goes to each and every one of us and our willingness to allow the spirit that flows through us to express itself into the world so that we do not get caught up in the misrepresentations and the deceptions of the archonic influence that is working behind the scenes. Okay? Okay. Here's a story. We're going to switch gears over to our dream world. 7 amazing herbs for dream recollection and spirit communication. Herbs and Plants by Stephen Lucas, quantumstones.com. Herbs and plants are an integral part of the life that exists on our planet on every level. Plants are our food, our medicine, and also the catalyst to an expansion of consciousness. Throughout our daily lives, we are more likely to coast by using our automated behaviors and modes to experience our reality. But at night, those boundaries are broken down and our spirits fly. These 7 plants, allies, can stimulate our consciousness to expand, opening us to alternate experiences of reality and new ways of perceiving ourselves and our surroundings. So here are 7 different things. First one is HOAX dream root. HOAX dream root, I don't know if I pronounced that right. X-H-O-S-A, HOAX. It's the most associated with the Xhosa people of South Africa who knows to ingest the herb to induce vivid and prophetic dreams. It's often used by the Xhosa in the initiation rites of shamans and believed to open up the pathways of communication to one's ancestors. It is believed that the ancestors are more likely to communicate in the dream state. Calatrius paniclataris, the elixir of life. This amazing herb is not only known to promote the incidence of lucid dreaming and dream recollection for those who take it, but has often been called intellect tree because of its long history of use in Ayurvedic medicine as an herb to help with mental focus, longevity, and memory. Blue lotus was among the most sacred plants to the ancient Egyptians. It grew throughout Egypt, where its consciousness-enhancing properties were well known and taken advantage of. The blue lotus was associated with the origins of life and the divine perspective. Wild asparagus root. According to some old legends throughout Asia, this allowed the consciousness to fly during the sleep. Journeying into other dimensions and places while asleep are common associations with the adaptogenic herb. African dream bean. Growing among the coast of Madagascar, South Africa, Australia, and Asia, this common bean is used in a wide variety of ways by an array of people, groups throughout the world. Uses vary from skin treatment to food given to teething babies to relieve pain. Mexican tarragon, commonly grown in the gardens and used as a herb for flavoring and cooking, also known as the Mexican marigold. Its flowers are associated with Dia de los Muertos celebrations and observances. And mugwort. Throughout the ages, mugwort has been widely used herb in Europe, associated with treating digestive or parasitic troubles, and as a dream herb. Okay, so check those out if you're looking to expand your ways of dreaming. Dreaming is a great way to get in touch with that aspect of ourselves which is beyond the physical here. Okay, it's a great way to reach out and understand. Remember, we're just, if you break everything down to the basics of energy, you got the spirit, you got the fire, you got the water, you got the air, and then finally you got the earth. Okay, the energy trickles down, and as it trickles down, it gets slower and slower and slower, but finally it becomes a more dense, solidified form. Okay, when it's up here, it's more airy, more spirit. It's formless. Here, it's physical. So there's a difference as it goes from one up here down. The vibrations change, and as things get more dense, the way things move in this world become more dense. The energy is moving at a different rate. So what we're looking to do is understand the energy field that we're moving in. The energy field we're moving in. And while we're on Earth, every day we're dealing with this. The more we can understand the process of how to deal with this energy, the better off we are. It's that simple. That simple indeed. All right, here's a message from Archangel Gabriel for today.
Archangel Gabriel Daily Message / Thursday, July 21st, 2016 by Shelley Young. One of my FB friends shared this post yesterday that was originally published last year. It seemed so relevant to today that I thought I'd share it again since it is Throwback Thursday. I think it's important to remember we absolutely can create from preference rather than contrast. Thanks for inspiring today's post, David. Shelley. Many of you, as you navigate the shifting energies, bemoan the fact that you have become so sensitive. That sensitivity is a wonderful thing. The more aware you are, the less contrast is required for self-definition and redirection. Those who are still asleep and deeply unaware often require big events to get their attention. The beauty of your heightened sensitivity and awareness is that you begin to notice subtle energy and can choose to redefine and redirect far faster and easier than ever before. Do you see? The continual shifting you are doing and the resulting heightened sensitivity is not about making you more uncomfortable in the world. It is actually designed for greater comfort, for you to embrace a less chaotic path, and to move with far greater acceptance and willingness than ever before. Archangel Gabriel.
Alright, good message. Let's close our eyes to do our meditation. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath. Exhale again. Another breath. And exhale. And just feel yourself breathing in and out. And feel this flow of life that moves through you. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, thank you for the life force of yourself that you allow to flow through this energy. Thank you for the great spirit of truth that illuminates our lives and helps us to see the difference from one dimensional reality to the next. Thank you for helping us to understand the essence of energy as it moves from density to density, from lighter to heavier. Thank you for helping us to understand the nature of those who are out to influence us in negative ways. And thank you for allowing us to have the sense of discernment to know when this manipulation is occurring. We know that all of these things, God, are blessings available to each and every one of us. And that is simply our putting them into practice that allows us to be able to understand the full purpose of these gifts. Let's imagine ourselves now walking along a path, looking out at all of the people in the world, people moving from here to there. And let's imagine seeing beyond the people the influence that is moving them forward. In some cases, we see this divine essence, this light shining through and moving some people along the path, while others we see are influenced by entities behind the scenes. And as we understand the variations from those being influenced directly from the spirit to those being influenced by the negative entities around us and everything in between, we understand the importance of connecting to spirit, because it is through this method that we are able to see clearly. For from the place of spirits we rise higher than the dimensions and the realities of the Archons and the authorities of influence upon us. We rise above those situations and those realities to look down upon them and see their influence upon this earth and the beings of the earth. So right at this moment, we just imagine from our heart space the color green, the color of the heart chakra, and we imagine this light, this love expanding outward from our hearts filling our bodies, expanding outward into the room where we are at this moment, the space where we are, expanding further into the neighborhood, the city, the state, the country, across the sea to the other countries on the earth. And we just let this love go out, mixing with all the other love that is being sent out at this moment. And we imagine this love having a positive effect, changing the negativity and the anger into peacefulness. Cooperation. And so we move through the world this weekend knowing that as we continue to think positivity and love, we bring these things into the world to counteract all the darkness. And we do so with confidence, knowing that each and every day more and more people awaken to the divinity within them. And as more and more lights turned on, more and more of the darkness is dispelled. So keep shining the light as we move forth this weekend, and let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3 coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2 coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1 coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open our eyes. All right, I'm reminded of the story Dolores Cannon often spoke of this new heaven and this new earth. It's also spoken of throughout biblical prophecy of this new heaven, this new earth. And Dolores used to talk about this earth, and she saw it as one that both 2 dimensions were existing simultaneously. And as this earth was pulling apart dimensionally, we had the opportunity to be in the earth that was moving with all of the goodness, or to be on the earth that was continuing to remain trapped in darkness and negativity. And I see every day we go through these challenges. But as I see this process that is taking place, I do know this. This time last week, there was a lot of talk about potential negativity and violence at this convention. And yet, the time went by and we didn't see this negativity and violence. So I like to believe that is attributed to all of the good thoughts that people have put out into the world, and that we, through our good thoughts and positive energies, have been able to counteract any of that negativity. And I believe as such because we are thinking, we are moving along with the realm, the earth that is pulling apart, following the path of righteousness. And we're watching all of the rats jump off the ship who want to stay with the earth that is mired in the darkness. So keep doing it, my friends. We're doing good. We're doing real good. We are making a difference. We are. And when peacefulness occurs in the world, when peacefulness occurs at these type of events, it's because we're thinking peacefully. And we're seeing the power that we have with all of our thoughts and our beliefs. With the power of God that flows through us, there's nothing that can stop that. There is not an evil influence or dark influence that can get in the way to stop that. All they can do is try to convince you that they can through some sort of mental manipulation. But then again, that's all it is, a mental manipulation. It's not real. So stay strong, my friends. Keep allowing that God source to flow through you. Keep sending out light and love and knowing that we are making a difference in the world. And let's keep doing exactly that. That's it. I'll be back next week. Have yourselves an awesome weekend as we've made this new adjustment now into the time of Leo for this next month. In the meantime, I love you. Keep loving each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.